Hatred destroys the one who hates. The others that you are hating, go on about their business. Who care of us?
So the legacy of Medgar Evers is an understanding of our own humanity and of our own responsibility of seeing that in other people.
He is written out of history. He's just not included as Malcolm and Martin. To me, it's the 3 M's, and Medgar is right up there at the lead.
Everlasting, Life and Legacy of Medgar Evers. Watch now on MPB Passport. Visit mpbonline.org for more.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Afternoon. Welcome to Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White with Carol Palmer and London's Calling.
Yes, indeed. It called. I answered.
Well, before we dive into London, let's stay here locally for a minute, and got a few things I want to touch on. First of all, Carol, Burger King has been in the news a lot lately.
Oh, indeed it has.
They obviously were having lots of difficulties, and they brought in a new head person. They fired the king. They got rid of...
You have got to be kidding
me. No,
me.
the king is gone. They now say that you, the customer, is king, and that the old king is gone. So there's been a regime change at Burger King, and they have modified the Whopper. And, I mean, it has a new bun. They call it, I think, a more sturdy bun. There is new mayonnaise. It is called a creamier mayonnaise. And it has a new box that is called a turtle shell or something like that.
I'm here to testify.
And you... Since I notified you of all of that was going on with Burger King, you informed me that you had recently stepped in one.
And unless you had done that, I would have never, ever admitted, because I'm just not a fast food kind of gal.
Well,
but in this case, Malcolm, it was a beautiful thing. I was coming back late Friday night a week ago.
From Starkville.
From taking my poor sweet puppy to the vet school. It was 9 o'clock at night. I had not had lunch.
Starved.
I was.
Been there.
I was. And I was going, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to stop at a
pull
gas
over
station
at the next sign
and get some stuff. I mean, like
right.
Junk food. And there was a Burger King
and
in Louisville. And it was open. It was open. I go in and I ordered a Whopper Jr., fully intending to take, everything out and just kind of eat the meat or something. I took one bite of it, and maybe a minute later, there was nothing left in the clamshell packaging.
Clamshell.
Yeah, it's no more.
I think I said turtle box. But anyway.
Well, maybe it wasn't clamshell.
I think paper. That's right.
It's
a cardboard box.
It is a cardboard box. The last time I've had fast food hamburgers, like wrapped in paper, everything's kind of yucky.
Kind of yucky, been under the light.
This was, as I told you, like a premium hamburger, like you would get at a restaurant. It was so tasty.
Yeah, so we're just sharing things that we understand, we read and find out about, and then we go check it out.
With the people.
And we share with the people that there's a new regime at Burger King. And the Whopper seems to be back. We'll see.
Yes, and they have paper crowns. Now I understand the meaning. Because they give you a paper crown.
Yeah.
Because
Did you wear it in the car on the way back?
No, I didn't, but I'm going to wear it.
Okay. I'm glad we've gotten that straightened
And
out.
you could make me sing, hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special orders, don't upset us. That's from the 70s.
Well, you sort of did, yeah. Hey, speaking of fast foods, May the 18th, which is today, is I Love Reese's Day. And when I go to fast food, I go to the Dairy Queen and get a Blizzard. And I always get a Reese's Buttercup Blizzard. Now, see, I'm not ashamed to admit that. When I'm on the road and I'm feeling kind of tired behind the wheel and through the windshield, I see a DQ, I'm on a Blizzard.
Yeah, that's because you're a skinny little thing. I mean, you can eat those.
All right, guess what else? May 20 is Pick Strawberries Day, and I wanted to highlight that because my wife, Kara, picked some freeze-dried strawberries.
Now, how does one pick freeze-dried?
Well, I'm not finished. She took freeze-dried strawberries, which she buys for smoothies, and made this fabulous homemade ice cream, vanilla and strawberry, and it is fine. I tell you, and these freeze-dried strawberries were good for freezing and ice cream style. Very good. So May 20, Pick Strawberries Day. Let's see. Now, I brought you and John's dinner for
Thank you.
tonight. So I brought you 2 items, a homemade chicken soup that I made from a rotisserie chicken from Whole Foods. And Kara made the orzo pasta salad with fresh asparagus and
My goodness.
spinach. And guess what? May 24 is Asparagus Day.
Well, I am in style.
You're rolling.
And up with the times.
Yes, you are. Let's see. What else is going on? You just took a quick trip.
I did. It was a
and the
quick
Clash was singing about it as we went on the air. Tell us
London,
about your trip.
London. I hopped over the pond to go to a conference of the International Women's Forum,
Okay.
an
Could you explain that?
organization I've been a part of for many, many years. We have a forum in Mississippi, and it brings together women from all over the world. We heard, great presentations on, everything from AI to social media to big new ideas that women-led companies were doing. We had dine-arounds where they take all of the 600 people there and divide them into like small groups of 10, and you go to either a London member's home or club. It was just a great way to get a lot of great information and meet some pretty fabulous women from all over the world. 37 countries.
Wow, that's terrific. Well, good for you and good for us that we sent a delegation.
We did. There were 6 of us that went. We had a ball, and
You brought back some goodies.
I did. I actually brought you a gift, of course, and I brought you
some tea.
in a very large monkey tin, which is like aqua blue. It's about 14 inches tall. These are pistachio and clotted cream biscuits.
Oh, biscuits.
From Fortnum and Mason.
Oh, yeah.
And, we didn't get many stops because we were working, but I did go to the Harrods Food Hall. And Fortnum and Mason is one of my favorite brands. I had the Everyday Gourmet for years, and I carried Fortnum and Mason teas. But this was their headquarters. Whoops. And it's in the Piccadilly area of London, and it was started in 1707
Goodness.
by one of the Queen's footmen, who was Mr. Fortnum, and another guy, Mr. Mason. And
Was he the left or right foot?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But it's always been, they sell, it was groceries, but it's always been like exotic specialty foods and a tea shop. The day that we went, this was Donna Barksdale, our good friend.
Yes.
Were we ever surprised? It was the opening of the Fortnum and Mason Biscuitorium.
The Biscuitorium. Hey, speaking of biscuits, that we will be talking about 2 different styles of biscuits on this show today.
Yes, and this is why I think this is a very important conversation to have, because, in America, we think, a biscuit is
Fluffy, grandmotherish, salty,
Yep.
soaker. A sopping tool.
Yes. And in England, biscuit is crisp, baked, and it's served with tea. And they're also called dunkers.
They're
dunk the
dense.
biscuit,
They're dense.
yeah, into the tea to soften it just a bit with your tea.
And you nibble as you sip.
Indeed, you do. And tea and biscuits. I mean, that is just a British saying.
Let's have a spot of tea.
And biscuits. So, I mean, that's kind of British shorthand, tea and biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to HQ of tea and biscuits, which is Fortnum and Mason. And Donna and I had afternoon tea at Fortnum and Mason. You have to make reservations, which we did. And it's just a lovely, really a mini meal between lunch and dinner.
Mm-hmm. Segue.
British, they start rattling those teacups around 4 o'clock every day. They bring out the tea. But a proper afternoon tea has finger sandwiches.
Like a cucumber sandwich or
Yes,
something?
I had a cucumber sandwich, had a little egg salad sandwich, a little salmon sandwich.
Would this be where you might find a watercress sandwich?
Yes, indeed. A watercress.
Wow.
Malcolm, obviously you've been to tea before.
No, I just know about these things because of movies and things I've read.
Yes, and we had. And
you
then,
go, and I
they
stay
yeah,
here.
They bring it
hold
out
down the fort
on a little, on
the
a
tray.
holder,
A
holder
holder.
that it's 3 levels.
Yes.
And
I've seen those.
Yes, and the bottom level is the sandwich. Kind of the.
So it goes. Sweets are on top and savory on the bottom.
And then the scones, my favorite.
Scones in the middle.
Yes, scones and
That could be a song.
Yes, scones in the middle with clotted cream and jam. So
Oh my goodness!
it was pretty great, and you know how I love historic food things, but I always thought of that as high tea. You know, people say I'm going to high tea at the Windsor Court, but wrong.
It's not high tea.
Americans, as we're known to do, thought high tea sounded better. It sounded more elegant. It sounded more upscale.
Right.
So we adopted the name high tea, but in Britain it's afternoon tea because high tea is a working man's tea that's served after work, and it has a lot of meat and shepherd's pie and tea. So,
Cool. Wow. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, I was really glad to clear that
so
up. I'm
high
not going
tea-
to say I'm having, we used to have high tea
Afternoon
at the
tea.
Everyday Gourmet. It's afternoon tea.
Wow. How about that? And what sort of teas did you bring, and would one have?
These are all,
I see ginger.
all biscuits, and
those are all biscuits.
Yeah, I opened those ginger biscuits just so you and I could have a taste. Ginger biscuits are
I
one of my
love ginger
favorite, but
biscuits.
shortbreads, ginger biscuits, lemon biscuits, vanilla biscuits. Anyway, it was a really good time, and the other 2 dining experiences which were memorable was the Harrods Food Hall, which had like 13 different restaurants inside of this massive, beautiful hall with murals and tile.
Not a mall food court.
No. It was very elegant.
Don't think Metro Center or anything like that.
And so I went to the little dim sum restaurant where you could watch the chef actually making the dim sum. And my last experience was we did have one night off, and we went to an Indian restaurant because Indian food is just woven into the British experience. And I was kind of thinking, why is this so? Why London is more known for Indian food than almost in India? And it's because for 300 years, the British have had a relationship in India, and the first Indian restaurant in London was actually in 1810. But we went to a very contemporary Indian restaurant, and we had everything from street food to fine dining. So it was great. I mean, just for a very quick trip, I think I did pretty good.
You did real well. That's impressive.
Yep.
You did not waste your time
No, I did not.
in jolly old London. Well,
No, I
good.
did
I'm
not.
glad you're back in one piece and back here in Deep South Dining.
Yes, and we'll talk about other biscuits later. in the
We
show.
shall. What we'll do is we'll take a break and remind you you're listening to Deep South Dining here on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White and Carol Palmer are your hosts, and we are glad that you are here. If you'd like to join the conversation or make an observation about high tea, afternoon tea, or biscuits, or London, or just most anything on your mind, you can join by calling 1-877-672-7464, or we'd be happy to see an email. Just shoot it to food@mpbonline.org. We'd like to remind you that the Deep South Dining podcast is brought to you by Mississippi Red Pepper Sauce. Discover more at msredpeppersauce.com. It's all natural, all Mississippi, and all good.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome to the Gravy Train right here on Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White and Carol Palmer. Carol, I think
Hey, Mal.
Nice tune you picked out there.
Yeah, well, we're talking about biscuits from England, and then our good friend Josh is a biscuit maker, and I just really like that line of mind your own biscuits and make your own gravy.
I think that's...
Is that right? Did I say that right, Mel?
Sounds good
Something
to me.
like that.
Seems like a good philosophy. Well, today on our show, we have urban strategist, entrepreneur, and biscuit maker Josh McManus. We welcome you to the show to talk about how food culture can help revive cities like Jackson. Josh has often been described as a city interventionist for his work in post-industrial American cities like Chattanooga, Detroit, and now Jackson.
Yeah, and Josh is associated with all kind of ideas around civic storytelling and rebranding cities, declining cities, innovation districts, and long-term cultural and economic regeneration.
And as mentioned, Josh is currently working with the city of Jackson on a new initiative called Jackson Rising, as well as an exciting project reimagining the old Chastain Junior High School campus over in the Broadmoor area, yeah. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Josh McManus to our show. Josh, we're glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, thanks for showing up when you're called.
You and I were together just a few nights ago over in Belhaven for an event to honor and kick off an initiative honoring Samuel Sambo Mockbee, the great architect. And we gathered, described the place and the scene in which we gathered, and what that little gathering was all about.
Sure. Well, I don't know that everybody knows, but that little former gas station that sits down there in the heart of Belhaven was
the Shady Nook.
The Shady Nook, yeah, was originally designed by Mr. A. Hayes Town, and if you don't know about him, he's worth knowing about. One of the most prolific American architects, and he has fingerprints all over Mississippi and Louisiana. But Mr. Town made it to be a gas station, and Mr. Mockbee and Mr. Goodman came along, I believe in the early 80s, to turn it into an architect's office. And it was an appropriate place to launch a project that has started at the 25th anniversary of his passing. That is about
Sambo Mockbee's passing.
Yeah, Mr. Mockbee's passing. And if you don't know about Mr. Mockbee, he really warrants knowing about. He was an AIA gold medalist. He was a MacArthur genius. He was an American architect, artist, instigator, I believe. You both knew him.
Yeah, there was a lot of instigation.
He created the Buckethead judges for the St. Patty's Parade.
And I, of course, am a Buckethead judge,
Right.
so I honor him. And he came up with the idea of we wear buckets over our heads for two reasons. So we can be anonymous, and also because people throw things at us.
Gifts, bribes.
Yeah, gifts and bribes.
Well-meaning.
They're well-meaning, but they really hurt.
Yeah, and also another connection between Carol and Sambo Mockbee was that Sambo bought the first trailer/float for the parade, which to this day the Sweet Potato Queen's ride on.
Yeah.
So you've ridden on that trailer many
indeed.
times.
Yeah.
That's a Sambo Mockbee production.
And let's just kind of give everybody with his rural studio, because that's really what he was honored for by the MacArthur Genius Award. He's the only Mississippian to ever receive it.
Yeah,
that I know of.
Only architect to have received it. One of only 3 AIA gold medalists from the South. And his work at the rural studio was born out of his ethos that we were all better together. And so he was working at Auburn University, but he went into Hale County, Alabama, which had long been one of the poorest counties in the nation, and said, architecture is typically something that is for the few, not for the many, and started building houses not for, but with the folks of Hale County. That work goes on to this day, and saw one of his students at that gathering, in fact, that she now teaches the third years to build those houses. But Mockbee posited that architecture is a matter of human dignity and not a matter of privilege, and that became contagious. And if you look at what happened after Mr. Mockbee passed, many of the great architecture schools in the country then started going to practice in community, and so his footprints are huge. But he passed, kind of at the high point of his career at 53 years old. And, Mississippi in some ways has kind of lost touch with him. And so that's what the project is about preserving his legacy and making sure that we continue to carry the best parts of it forward, especially this idea that we are all better together.
And when you're saying that Mississippi in many ways has lost touch with him, I think there's kind of another angle to that, is that sometimes it takes somebody from outside, because he's somebody that I revere and so many people revere and think of, but we, think of him sitting at Howland Mal's. I mean, we're all so proud of him, but it takes a Josh McManus to reach in from outside and say, hey, let's take this to the next level and make sure that all the right people, that everybody remembers him and he is honored as he should be on a national level for his work.
Sure, yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Josh, and we'll move on from Sambo, there's been a fund set up for people who want to participate in this project, this long-term project of honoring him, his life and his work, and it's at the Community Foundation
it's
for Mississippi.
Mock Be Better Together Fund at the Community Foundation for Mississippi, and what we're working to do is take his art, his artwork, his artifacts. He was an incredible artist in addition to his architecture, found object sculpture. All of those things should go to some of the most important museums in the country and then work their way back home to Mississippi. And so we're working to make that happen. We're also working to see his archive, which has been stewarded by his family for the last 25 years, placed at a significant national institution. So it's a project that'll take us a couple of years to get done, but we're really excited about it.
And you have museum directors and curators coming in from all over the country to see the stuff, right?
We do. We're going to take them on a Mockbee construct, which is a Southern Odyssey, and they're going to fly into Memphis, and then they're going to get dropped right into the heart of the Delta and then brought down to Canton and Madison and Jackson. And so we're going to put them right into the heart of everything, and we're going to do what we're here to talk about today, which is we're going to feed them. So.
Yeah.
And speaking of food and Sambo Mockbee, he loved eating and he loved gathering at the table. And I mean, he loved barbecue. He had a little place in Meridian, Callie Wingates, where he used to take his friends that I was included in. But he had a dish at Hal & Mal's. He created his own dish with my brother Hal, which most people would think of this dish as a tamale pie. It would be like 3 tamales, chili, cheese, onions, and then jalapenos zapped, just warmed up, sort of as an appetizer. But Sambo called it a gut bomb. Mm-hmm. And so gut bombs were served at this occasion this past weekend. Did you have a chance to sample the gut bomb?
You know, I had to do feats of strength this weekend, which was I had to get this event done, and then I had to drive 6 hours to host my 30-year high school reunion. And so what I did was I got 2 bowls of gut bomb, and that ran me through the whole weekend. So
there you go. You were powered. The weekend was powered by gut bomb.
I was super powered all weekend long.
Well, anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed it. They called me and said, "Hey, what's in a gut bomb?" Of course, it just cracked me up. But anyway, that was a great deal.
And, you know, Malcolm and I have gotten to know you through working with you on revitalizing Jackson. And you've worked in other cities. You've been doing this work a long time. So tell us a little bit about what you've done, like in Detroit and Chattanooga, and what it really means to be a city interventionist.
Sure.
And then we'll talk about food.
Yeah. Well, I like to, in some ways, demystify all these big words.
Yes, post-industrial would be another one.
All these words get put, but on what it is that I do. At the end of the day, I think I've chosen to start saying hillbilly more than white trash, but I'm just a little, kid from North Georgia who grew up in a mill town, and our mill town, and it was a Goodyear mill. They wove cotton originally for before you had steel belted radials, you had cotton belted radials, and so that plant persisted. And as I was growing up, if the plant was open and running, then we were doing okay. And if the plant wasn't open and running, we weren't doing okay. And that set in my psyche in a way that I've never been able to get too far from. And so when I got to Chattanooga when I was 19 years old, I got put on the team to start helping with the fight to stop population loss there, to regain population, which has now happened. I've got specifically tasked with how do you get young people to come back. And so I did that work, and then that got me recruited up to Detroit. And same thing, we're losing people. We got to stop this, because when you're losing people, it's just like a business that's losing customers. You can't spend any money on fixing anything that's broken. And in Jackson, we've been losing since the 1950s. We annexed a number of times in the 50s, 60s, 70s to try to stop that, but we've been losing for a long time here. And that broken business model gives us a lot of symptoms that then, get a lot of blame associated with them. But that's what my life has been, 30 years of trying to solve these problems. They call them post-industrial because it's just what happens after you have a lot of, heavy heavy industry, transportation, logistics. But I go to places when they're hurting and try to be, and there's always, anytime I get to a place, there's always been people at the oars for a long time. So I try to acknowledge that first and foremost. But I'm just fresh eyes, and I join in and try to help and see some things in ways that maybe we haven't seen them before. So that's what I've been here doing for the last little bit.
Yeah, so let's talk about the role of food and restaurants as culture and as economic generators. That's my life. It's not my only life, but it's certainly one of them. When we opened Hallamow's in downtown Jackson, there were a few other restaurants for sure, like the Mayflower and the Elite and such. But downtown, it was 1985, and downtown was beginning to lose traction, and white flight, urbanization, all of that going on. But we anchored that place, Hallamow's, as both a sort of cultural gathering place and as a restaurant. And it's been interesting. We're 45 years or so into it now, and there have been various waves of enthusiasm, and sometimes you get discouraged. But talk a little bit about that. For example, the revitalization of the Mayflower.
Yeah. Well, when we work to make it so, food is one of three common grounds that are the tip of the spear in trying to bring community back together at whatever scale. That can be in the form of a building, in the form of a neighborhood, or in the form of a whole city. Food, art, and music are the universal languages. And interestingly enough, all three of them are alive and well at Hallamow's.
Very much.
And so, why does that matter? It matters today more than ever because it's too easy to get on these screens and lose our humanity towards each other. But when I go to Hallamow's on Monday night and listen to blues with a room full of folks that I wouldn't normally be with, or if I had a jazz night, or heck, I was in there. What night was it? I was in there the other night for massive line dancing.
Yeah, that was great. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, just Nick,
where'd that come from?
Well, it's a friend, Nick Miller, and his band, and they're doing line dance and training. And but I mean, the big room was full. Like it was there was a lot of folks, and the red room was going, and so I think about this relative to our family spends a lot of time in New Orleans. And if you spend any time around New Orleans, as most Mississippians have, you've heard this term neutral ground. But I don't know that most folks. I used to think that it was something about the wires on the trolley cars. I thought it was something about that, so that you didn't get electrocuted. But when you start to understand it, it was that you had the Spanish, the French, the English, and then you had these these center spaces in the roadways, and that was where you'd come to trade, because that was literally neutral ground, a place that you could come together across the not knowing and begin to know one another, and that it was a safe space to do business with each other. Places like the Mayflower, places like Hallamow's, places like I got me a biscuit at Sugar's this morning. These are neutral ground. These are the places that we come to rub elbows with each other and be reminded of our shared humanity, while the algorithms try to show us what's different between us.
Right. All right, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and continue our conversation with Josh McManus. If you'd like to join the conversation, you are welcome to do so. It's toll free. It's easy. It's 1-877-672-7464. Carol, we're going to talk about biscuits, among other things, when we return.
Got too much, Mel.
So before we go, we want to remind you're listening to Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White and Carol Palmer. The Deep South Dining podcast is brought to you by Mississippi Red Pepper Sauce. Discover more at msredpeppersauce.com.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Biscuit and a great southern city have a lot in common. Neither starts with luxury ingredients, and both come from ordinary materials handled with care over generations. And if you overwork either one, the dough or the city, you lose the texture, the life, and the rise. So we're talking today with Josh McManus, who helps make cities and biscuits
Rise. Welcome back, Josh. I'm glad you're here. We appreciate you coming and joining us today. So you want to talk a little bit about the work you're doing here in Jackson?
And any ideas you have for us with our restaurants and our food culture and what we can do to help our city?
Yeah. Well, I first and foremost just want to say, for those that don't get on the road as much as I do, what a joy it has been for me to be in Mississippi and in Jackson specifically, because from a cooking standpoint, a number of the old ways are still alive. And first time I sat down at Bully's and ordered my vegetable plate, I teared up because I went back to a place that I don't always get to go back to. And it's, there are so many incredible institutions that are in Jackson and surrounding Jackson and I've been there so long that I think in some ways you might take them for granted. As a kid who grew up around Atlanta, I can tell you that a lot of those flavors and ways and taste and smells and sounds are gone now. The process of modernity can vacuum them up very quickly. And so I would strongly encourage us to take stock of these places that are labors of love. Most great restaurants are labors of love. They are not cash cows. They are not easy to run. I'm sure Malcolm can attest.
I've been made rich, but not in that way.
That's right. That's right. And so the other thing is when we start to recognize that we have these things, and there's been some recent press about this, we have to tell the rest of the world, because we need folks to start coming from over 250 miles away to experience all that Mississippi has to offer. And the easiest pitch to make is always with food. I mean, it starts there. If you can give people, when the New York Times does 36 hours in a city, the highlight reel is always about what you're going to eat.
Right.
And I feel like we need to take a little better stock. I've had to play a hide and go seek game of where do I find all these things, because the insiders have protected a lot of the the best spots, but we may need to make them a little bit more aware to the world. And it really is a shame. Think about if we hadn't kept the Mayflower, or if Bullies doesn't stay full every day of the week. Like these things matter. And
Absolutely.
sometimes we're better at missing them when they're gone than
Yes.
spending money when we need to.
You were so right, and we lost so much before we really need to put the energy in it. But when I think of soul food too, I mean, we have Bullies, we have Rosie Mae's. I mean,
Big Apple.
The Big Apple. I mean, we need to think of these in a cluster.
Yes.
Just like the Bellhaven restaurants now
Yeah,
are in a
yeah.
cluster. Instead of one, now we
L&M
have four,
barbecue.
four
Yeah.
and five, yeah.
Yeah.
Baby.
It should be a circuit that we're eating on with great regularity, and your money is a form of voting. Where you're putting your money is where you put your heart, and that's what's going to persist.
Well, you put your heart in biscuit making. The first time I think I met you had gone or were going to Sugar's to get a biscuit on your way to New Orleans.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am in a perpetual pursuit of a perfect biscuit, a perfect brisket. Like I have a small number of things, and I am an odd individual in that when I get obsessed with something, I will read about it, I will study it, if there's books about it, if there's schools. So I've been to barbecue school, I've been to biscuit school, and it is in many ways the greatest, outside of family, it's the greatest pursuit and passion of my life. I just get paid to do other things.
We all share a biscuit making experience with Scott Peacock, great chef. I know you've been to his school, his class, his biscuit making
in Marion,
experience.
Alabama, in the Black Belt.
His performance theater, I like to call it.
Right. It's good stuff, and his biscuits are fine as well.
Yeah. Scott is a favorite human of mine because he is living his truth in the pursuit of not just what is culinary excellence, but what is American history and how can we be on the right side of it. And food is, food correlates with justice. When you mention our soul food restaurants, Carol, like so many of those were the front lines of the American Civil Rights Movement. So it's not just what we eat, it's what we do in these places and what we think about for our future as well.
So how did you get to Marion, Alabama? Did you read about the biscuit experience?
That's a great question. There's some points where memory fails me, but I know this much is that my first biscuit experience, I've now been 3-4 times at least. My first biscuit experience was my own curiosity, and everybody else that I approached was like, I don't know, that sounds weird. And so I went by myself, and Scott and I stood in the kitchen for 4 or 5 hours together, and I was transformed because this, and he has a similar experience to me, is that two sides of the family, one side of my family, everybody had wheels on the house, and one side of the family, they didn't. They weren't that far apart, but, there was one side that thought that a, fluffy high-rise biscuit, White Lily was the penultimate biscuit. And then on the other side, it was more a pursuit of a farmer's biscuit. And Scott's got the same thing. And so as we stood there and worked our way through it, I was taken back to what is the origin of the biscuit? Why does it exist? What does it mean to us? And then why was I looking for one this morning? Sure, I was hungry, but a biscuit has become for me a meditation. It's a thing that I go and I eat usually in private to go be with people from my past that aren't here anymore, and to think about things in ways that I haven't thought about them in a long time. And so Scott is a revelation for me, and it sent me down even further into the wormhole of biscuiteering.
Well, let me dig a little deeper on your passion for biscuits. Do you open them up and butter and jelly jam them, or tell me what's your process for consumption?
We're going to nerd out here.
Yeah, we're going.
This is a food show. Hey, if not here, where?
Yeah. That's, I'm glad I've known you for a while, though, because that's not a first date question.
No, it's not. No, it's not. This is what old friends talk about.
That's right. Well, so it matters to me whether, there's starting to be this French pastry thing where a biscuit has a little bit of lamination to it, because it's a matter of if you folded it over a couple of times, then it starts to be where you can delam it. If it's that biscuit, I actually pull all my layers apart.
Really?
Yeah.
How many generally are there?
Well, if I take you to Willa Jean in New Orleans, they make a pretty big laminated biscuit. And so I get at least 4 layers out of that.
Okay.
And then each layer is going to have a different thing going on in it. And I sometimes am in the pursuit of this is another hillbilly tale. Like my biscuit this morning was a bacon and mustard biscuit.
Okay.
I learned it on a sausage and mustard biscuit, but it's still just as good with bacon and mustard.
Savory.
But I'll do a layer that's a savory, a layer that's a sweet, and I hold the sweet like it's dessert.
Put them together or separately?
Well, really a build, right? So one of each, and then the crescendo is all of it together. And I really believe it's the perfect food. It's a well-rounded meal all in one. If you get a little sweet, a little salty, savory, and the perfection of the way that cold butter and buttermilk have come together with somebody's flour.
Made by the human hand.
Absolutely made by the human hand. The only way.
This reminds me of, for some reason, I called you one time, and you were in Maine, and you said, I can only be on the phone for a few minutes because I'm making biscuits for a party for 50 people.
That's right.
So you have just a
focused
biscuit party.
That's right. Actually, that was a new one that I started in Maine. So my partner is 5th generation, born on an island up there. Our son is the 6th that had to be born there, and so we have these we have parties in the yard because we got a little tiny house, and this was the year we instituted the dinner at breakfast. The breakfast for dinner party, and I tried to make biscuits for 50 people, and I pulled it off to some degree, but that was a dangerous day.
And was it the Scott Peacock biscuit?
Yeah, we always work off of, most people are very loyal to this New York Times thing, and I respect that New York Times recipe, but we always start with a variation on Scott Peacock's, which is what he made with Miss Edna Lewis, and so that's where we begin. And then biscuits are a place for improvisation.
A riff.
Yeah, and it depends on what the humidity's doing that day and how cold the buttermilk is.
There'd been a storm the night before.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I love biscuits and brisket. I love because. So I've marched into, post-industrial places and been put on the spot to say, hey, can you give us ideas for how we might, stop the hardest problem that we've ever. That's a tough job.
Yeah.
Biscuits and brisket are way tougher than anything else I've ever done.
I just found the recipe for G.W. Finn's biscuits. You know those?
I do know those.
You live in New Orleans, right?
I do know those.
Those are kind of cool. They're different.
They are.
But I just found the recipe like 2 days ago and downloaded it. I haven't made them yet.
Oh,
I'm going to give it a shot.
I'm excited. You let me know.
Okay. Hey, I wanted to ask you about this thing, the people You talk about the Truett foil wrapped chicken. What is this? The Browns, the Cheddar Bay, Grandfather McManus steak-a-lean.
Yeah, I think it was. Carol asked me for
your favorite biscuit.
My favorite biscuits, and I'll try to do these quick. So the Browns were my maternal grandparents, and they didn't ever have two nickels to rub together. But my Uncle Johnny worked in logistics for the company that made the biscuit mix for Red Lobster. And if you've ever had one of those, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's no forgetting the Red Lobster biscuit. And I think they were called Cheddar Bay biscuits. And so whenever we would go to my grandparents, the biscuit there was going to be a Cheddar Bay biscuit, because if a bag broke on the loading dock, it went home with my Uncle Johnny and then went into the cabinet at my grandparents. So
there you go.
It's a happy one for them. My grandfather McManus lived through the Depression, and happiest thing you could ever find for him was a streak-a-lean biscuit, which is almost impossible at this point. But y'all don't
tell us fast.
So streak-a-lean is reverse bacon. So instead of having a lot of meat and a little bit of fat, it's a lot of fat and a little sliver of
poor man's bacon.
Poor man's bacon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm eating a lot of that.
And the last one is tin foil. I grew up knowing Truett Cathy, who founded Chick-fil-A, and he supported over 250 kids that were in temporary custody, and Truett used those biscuits to pay for all that. So I always think of him.
All right. Deep South Dining is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting's Think Radio, and we are funded by the generous contributions from people like yourself and your biscuit-loving family. Our show is produced by Marissa Vaughn for our special guest, Josh McManus. My co-host, Carol Palmer. I'm Malcolm White. We ask that you now stay tuned for At Issue, and please join us next Monday at 4 p.m. for more Deep South Dining. And tune in every Sunday morning at 9 for an encore, heard only on MPB Think Radio. Check y'all later.